Muhammad ordered a man to be tortured to reveal the location of hidden treasure. Okay, well, that's great. I mean, can you imagine Jesus or Buddha ordering somebody's torture for hidden treasure? No, neither can I. So that's a difference. Okay? When you have multiple wives under Islamic law, you're supposed to treat them all equal. Well, Muhammad didn't do that either. So he definitely had his favorite wives and definitely didn't treat them equally. So that's against Islamic law. So again, it's okay for him, but it's not okay for others. One of his historians at the time, that was his friend, actually said this. I thought this was interesting. Muhammad would abandon any doctrine in order to secure a political end, right? So for Muhammad, in his later years, it was all about the political side of it, not the theological, right? So, it gets harder and harder for me to believe that God would intervene in this way and want to say, oh no, here's a revelation that has to do with the politics of the situation and nothing about theology. I just don't. I think it's a little bit too convenient. Here's another big reason why I think Islam is wrong, and I think Muslims are wrong, and that is that they don't believe that Jesus was crucified. Now, I've done a lot of research on Jesus and trying to get back to whatever is the most historical view of that whole situation. And the one thing that secular historians, know for sure about Jesus' life is that he was crucified. That's the one thing that they know the most. Now, of course, nothing can ever be proven 100% when you're talking about something in the past that's 2,000 years. But out of all the things that they know about Jesus, the one thing that they know the most is that the Romans had him crucified. Okay? That's the one thing we know the most, and that's the one thing that, Islam says, oh no, this didn't happen. Let's just say this is all true. Let's say, okay, I grant you, there's a God. I grant you there's an angel named Gabriel, and God's telling Gabriel to tell Muhammad, what's up, and here's my, plan, here's my word, and here's what I want everyone to do or don't do. Okay? Let's just say that's, I'll grant you all that. Okay? Now, why would God go to Muhammad, who's illiterate, right? Wouldn't it make more sense for God to speak through Gabriel to somebody who could actually write it down as he was saying it? Well, why do they expect this guy to memorize things and have them written down later? It's just, I'm sorry, it's just a silly story. It's just, if God is so smart, this isn't the way that God gets, the story out and gets the message out. This isn't how you do it, right? To say that Muhammad came up with all this stuff himself through Gabriel, through God, a lot of it doesn't make any sense because these were all, there were stories that were floating around in the area at the time, and a lot of them were paraphrased and put in there. And there's some misconceptions, right? And I'll give you a few examples, right? The Gospel of James, the Gospel of Pseudo-Matthew, and the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, right? These are three books that didn't make it into Christian canon. These are, if you open up the Bible, these aren't going to be in there, but they're actually in the Quran. Pieces of them are rephrased and put into the Quran. And not because, in my opinion, that God spoke to Gabriel who spoke to Muhammad. I think these are just floating around at the time, and whoever wrote down, paraphrased some stories that they heard. Whether it's directly from Muhammad, and when Muhammad died, there was no finished Quran. That happened after, right? So somebody had to gather up all these different stories and put them together. You think that if it was so important to Muhammad that God's word be known to everyone, why wouldn't he commission the full entire book to be put together before he died.